Tonight, Aaron Alexander explains why he has chosen to step down as ICAR president. CXC allocates more time to students, pushing exams back by 2 weeks. And the Anglican Church calls for the Court of Public Opinion to allow the National Youth Council to complete a fair and impartial investigation into sexual misconduct allegations. The details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Thursday, the 27th of May, 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovelace and Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Aaron Alexander has stepped down from the position of president of the Ayanola Council for the Advancement of Rastafari, ICAR. On Thursday, Alexander explained that given his new appointment as the deputy leader of the National Greens Party, his resignation seemed like the best way forward.
On Wednesday, the Ayanola Council for the Advancement of Rastafari, ICAR, informed of the resignation of its president, Aaron Alexander. Alexander's post will be temporarily filled by Danny James, who is the current vice president on the executive board. Alexander on Thursday explained why he decided to step down from a post that he assumed for the past 2 years, a tenure which he undertook with notable passion and fervor.
We've chosen to part ways right now because I think it's the right thing to do at this stage until we have a general membership sort of meeting, which we're planning for June the 27th, our BGM, where the members really and truly will decide, whether I should step out or if I will be embraced again, whether as president or just a member of the executive or just an ordinary member. So the final decision will come from the membership. But for now, just to safeguard the organization, since I'm now the deputy leader of the National Green Party, I think it was the right thing to do. So I've tendered my resignation to the executive and I handed it over to our vice president, Mr. Danny James, who's now the acting president until our BGM on the 27th of June, where things will be finalized.
Two of Alexander's most recent statements with regard to the Joachim Guy situation and with the donation of cannabis to St. Vincent raised lots of eyebrows in the public domain, with some calling for his resignation over the matters. Alexander vehemently denies that these issues are in any way connected to his decision to step down.
There are times as a leader you have to take the initiative and make certain statements. At times I felt that, and that's a general feeling that I've had for quite some time, I feel like civil society groups are generally too quiet on national issues. And when I took up office as the president of the council, I vowed not to have ICAR as a silent civil society group.
Alexander explained that when ICAR meets for its biannual general meeting, the decision will be made as to whether he can continue serving the council while engaged in elective politics, a feat which he believes he can handle. He explained his decision to delve into politics with the Third National Greens Party as opposed to the already established parties.
There's no bad blood. Rastafari will remain united, and some will support the resignation, some will not, but as I said at the BGM on the 27th, we'll thrash out those issues.
Alexander says, regardless of the decision taken in June, he will continue advocating for the rights of the Rastafarian community and the people of St. Lucia on a whole. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
Examinations for the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examinations, CAPE, administered by the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, are now scheduled to be administered from the 28th of June 2021 as a result of a further 2-week delay. This follows a special meeting of the CXC's Council on the 2021 Regional Examination Strategy.
A combination of the continued challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic within the region and the volcanic eruption in St. Vincent has resulted in the Caribbean Examination Council, the CXC, taking the decision to push back its suite of exams by 2 weeks. CXC's Registrar Dr. Wayne Wesley on Wednesday made the announcement as he presented a revised strategy for the 2021 regional examinations. He said the decision was taken following consultations with the Ministers of Education of the participating territories and input from the Caribbean Union of Teachers, and cited that all papers will be administered, albeit at a later date.
CXC will administer the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, the Caribbean Secondary Examination Certificate, CSEC, and the Caribbean Certificate of Secondary Level Competence, CCSLC, examinations in their original format. That is, for CAPE and CSEC, papers 1, 2, and 3-1 school-based assessment, or paper 3-2 for private candidates, and for CCSLC, papers 1 and 2.
All papers.
Secondly, Council approved the delay of the sitting of the regional examinations by a further 2 weeks. This will provide candidates with extra time to prepare for the examinations. Therefore, examinations will commence on Thursday, the 28th of June, 2021, with release of results the last week in September to the first week in October, as previously communicated.
The special council meeting also took note of the concessions that CXC had already put in place in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Further consideration will also be given during the grading process to account for the likely psychosocial impact on students' performance to further ensure that they are not disenfranchised.
Council took note of the continued effort to work with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to ensure that the candidates will not be disenfranchised as a result of the volcanic eruption. Council believes that these decisions are made in the best interest of our stakeholders across the region, to include our teachers, our parents, our students, and our ministries, and will continue to engage and collaborate with all stakeholders to ensure that there is equity and fairness for all candidates, that the integrity of the regional examinations remain intact, and that the health and well-being of our stakeholders remain paramount.
The United Nations Children Agency, UNICEF, on Monday urged the Caribbean Examination Council not to proceed with this year's Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate CSEC and the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Exams in their current form, and called on education ministers to intervene urgently. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Thank you, Nisha. UNICEF has urged the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, not to proceed with this year's CSEC and CAPE examinations in their current form. Local stakeholders have for some time clamored for changes to be made to this year's administration of the exams. The St. Lucia National Students' Council says it is in full support of UNICEF's statement and is urging that students' well-being be the focus as countries continue to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic.
In 2020, students seating the Caribbean Examination Council's CAPE and CSEC exams were tested using only paper 1 or multiple choice. This year, however, the council has informed that all 3 papers will be administered. In a recent statement, UNICEF expressed deep concern over CXC's decision to maintain the structure of both CAPE and CSEC. They say while they recognize the efforts of CXC in reducing certain requirements for these examinations, they are, quote, calling on CXC and the Ministers of Education to make adjustments to the content and administration of these exams in line with recommendations provided by the Caribbean Union of Teachers to ensure that the region's school students are not further disadvantaged, end quote. The Public Relations Officer of the St. Lucia National Students' Council, Jean-Luc Constantine, says they are in full support of the points being raised by UNICEF.
One thing I think CXC could have done better is in the restructuring of the paper 1s, which has not been done yet actually. And I think it's important for us to say that right now we don't think that restructuring the exam is a difficult thing for CXC to do. But if CXC realizes, they recognize that many of our students, not just here in St. Lucia, but across the Caribbean, have missed out on vital parts of the syllabi, and they've made changes to accommodate those losses in the paper 2s, why is it our paper 1s are still being tested on the full syllabus? So we are hoping that our paper 1s also get restructured to become more in tune with our paper 2s, so that our students are given a better opportunity to get get themselves to where they need to be.
Following a special meeting of CXC's council, CSEC and CAPE have been delayed by 2 weeks. Constantine says some students are borderline anxious as they continue to prepare for examinations.
There's so many mixed emotions when you bring up a delay to them, because many of us, we recognize that a delay is essential to us. We need the time to prepare, we need the time to study, we need the time to get into the right frame of mind, but the constant cycle of us having to move in and out of whether or not we're doing it now, whether or not we're doing it later, what changes are being made, what changes are not being made, it's becoming tiring and it's becoming more stressful than the idea of the exam itself. So I think that the delay or an extension till the start of the exam is necessary for educational purposes, but as it relates to our mental health, it's really taking a toll on us every time that we have to be going back and forth as to whether or not we get to go through this process.
He, however, has applauded education officials in St. Lucia as he says they have been assisting students with psychosocial needs as they continue to navigate such a difficult time, both in school and in society.
One thing I must applaud though is that in the beginning, when schools reopened back in January, it was a priority that was made clear to us by the Chief Education Officer that the psychosocial needs of our students needed to be taken into account, and that is what they have been doing. We've seen many schools have different motivational assemblies. Their counselors work with the students to help the students, be the best that they can be, but of course, we cannot solely rely on our schools to motivate, to de-stress our students. Parents must take up the role to speak with their children at times, to speak with students, to understand what's wrong, how they can provide effective guidance.
CSEC and CAPE exams administered by the Caribbean Examinations Council are now scheduled to be administered from June 28, 2021. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. Still to come, 22 new cases of COVID-19 are confirmed. The U.S. President orders intelligence officials to redouble efforts to investigate the origins of COVID-19 in China. And Wayne Gerard makes his case to constituents about why they should pick him over incumbent Dominic Fady. That and more after the break.